Hello, my name is David Perez, and I will be presenting my group project. It will be based off the 2021 General Mills E. coli 0121 outbreak linked to flour. So, introducing my group members, I'm the group leader, David Perez. Group member 2 is Aurora Perez, and group member 3 is Gia Fontanilla. All three of us are bakers, so I decided to make all of us into a group. So, slide 1, food recall. So for the food recall, in mid-2021, a multi-state E. coli 0121 outbreak was linked to cake mix, which ultimately traced back to a flour recall by General Mills. The outbreak resulted in 16 illnesses across 12 states, 13 people hospitalized, and one developed HUS. For section 2, reason. So the reason for the food recall occurred because flour produced by General Mills was used in certain cake mixes and contaminated with E. coli 0121. Many people became ill and several required hospitalization. Flour is a raw agricultural product. Bacteria from the farm environment can survive the milling process. When consumers ate or tasted raw batter made with the contaminated flour, they were exposed to the pathogen. For the type of hazard, this is a biological hazard. Um, E. coli 0121 belongs to the group of Shiga toxin producing E. coli stec. These bacteria can cause several um, gastrointestinal illnesses and in some cases life-threatening complications. Stec is especially dangerous because it produces toxins that damage the intestinal lining and can lead to kidney failure. For slide or section 3, how was it handled? So the food recall was handled through public health agencies, the CDC and FDA, which identified the outbreak through illness reports and traceback investigations. Investigators linked the outbreak to flour used in cake mixes, prompting warnings that the brand or brands involved might be more widespread than initially known. Manufacturers voluntarily recalled affected cake mixes, removing them from retail stores nationwide. Public advisories were issued, telling consumers not to eat the raw batter, check their pantries, and discard any recalled products. Retailers posted recall notices, and health departments shared updates online and through news outlets to reach consumers quickly. For section 4, main ideas, for disease symptoms, it can cause severe stomach cramps, bloody diarrhea, vomiting, fever, and in some cases, HUS. For how to control this hazard, cook or bake all flour-containing products thoroughly to kill bacteria, avoid eating raw dough or batter, wash hands and surfaces after handling raw flour, and prevent cross-contamination. For similar outbreaks, there's the 2016 General Mills flour outbreak, the 2019 Baker's Corner outbreak, and the 2023 Gold Medal flour recall. Now on to section 5, health consumer issues. So consumers may not realize that flour is not a ready-to-eat product. It leads to unsafe habits like tasting raw dough. Infections can cause serious illnesses, hospitalization, and long-term complications such as HUS. Recalls can cause confusion if brands are not clearly identified, leaving consumers unsure whether their products are safe. Trust in food manufacturers and brands may decrease when outbreaks involve common household products like cake mixes. For section 6, economic impact, manufacturers lose revenue and pull products from the shelves, refunding customers and disposing of contaminated batches. Retailers face losses from removed inventory. Healthcare costs can increase due to hospitalizations and medical treatments. Regulatory and investigation costs incurred by the FDA and CDC, and then long-term brand damage. Now we move on to section 7, which is group member feedback. So here you'll be listening to my second and third group member talk about their feedback on this recall.
After looking into the 2021 flour recall more deeply, I actually learned a lot, especially since I bake, but I never really thought about food safety before. The recall happened because the flour in some cake mixes were contaminated with E. coli, which now I know is a biological hazard. I always thought flour was harmless, but it actually turns out it can carry bacteria since it's not cooked during processing. What really stood out to me, though, is how the recall was handled. Once people got sick, the CDC and the FDA traced the illness back to the flour, and the companies pulled the mixes from the stores and warned everyone not to use them. It made me see how quickly things have to move when food makes people sick. The main issue that most people don't know about flour is that it isn't a ready-to-eat food. This means that a lot of people are accidentally putting themselves at risk. And in the economic side, I realized recalls cost a lot. Many companies lose money, stores have to remove products, and there are medical expenses for people who get sick. Overall, I learned that this made me think differently about something so simple as flour. I understand now why food safety warnings are so important, especially when it comes to ingredients we use every day without even thinking about it.
The recall in 2021 happened because the flour in certain cake mixes had E. coli 0121 in it. I didn't know flour could even have bacteria, but since it's a raw ingredient, it counts as a biological hazard, and this strain can make people really sick. The CDC and FDA figured out the source, and the companies pulled the cake mixes off the shelves. They also put out warnings telling people to throw the products away and not eat raw batter. Some symptoms could be having cramps and vomiting. To control this hazard, you should make sure to cook flour thoroughly or avoid consuming it raw. I know that E. coli outbreaks have happened before, like with the chicken from Chipotle a couple years ago. I also remember hearing about E. coli outbreaks related to eating raw cookie dough. Most people don't realize flour can carry bacteria, so they eat raw dough without thinking twice. That makes it easy for people to get sick. Recalls like this also make people question how safe certain brands are. Companies lose money from pulling products, giving refunds, and dealing with investigations. There are also medical costs for people who get sick and overall damage to the brand's reputation.